Hello, 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 ladies. On this beautiful Monday, I hope that this message finds you well. Well, I always call you beautiful because I think that women need to know that they are. And I don't care who you are, what you look like, you're beautiful to me. So if no one else has told you that today, let me be the first. You are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles, Her Plate, Her Power, and I'm your host, functional nutritionist Gail Thorpe, at your service. And I need for you to grab your pen, your paper, and your tea or coffee, and let's get into it. Well, if you remember, guys, last week I was burning up. It was pretty hot, and at least today it's not so bad. It's still a little hot, but nowhere near where it was last week, so I'm happy about that. But am I still drinking my water? Absolutely, because water is extremely important for us. So today our topic is going to be about endometriosis, okay? I know you've probably heard of that before, and some may be familiar with it, and some may be dealing with that right now. But I'd like to talk about the different topics that we as women experience and how naturally we can help ourselves. So with endometriosis actually is a chronic condition where it's actually similar to the lining of the uterus called the endometrium, which grows outside of the uterus. Now these tissues or patches can develop on the ovaries, fallopian tubes, outer surfaces of the uterus, intestines, or even the pelvic lining. Now, even though this tissue is outside of the uterus, it behaves like the endometrial tissue. So it does have like a thickening, and it breaks down and bleeding during your menstrual cycle. But unlike a normal menstrual period, the blood from this displaced tissue has nowhere to go, which actually leads to inflammation, pain, and often a formation of scar tissues, which is called adhesions. Okay? So it's a pretty painful condition to have for sure. Okay. So with endometriosis, the exact cause is unknown. If you notice, guys, that a lot of the conditions that we experience is unknown a lot of times. There are factors involved with different conditions that we may have, but a lot of times it's a lot of things that are unknown. So this is why it does or can pose a problem when we go to the doctors, because they're not really sure what to do sometimes. So what they do is they constantly give us a lot of medicines or tell us to have a hysterectomy because there's so many gray areas, right? So the goal here is that we can kind of dig into a little bit about these different conditions and understand what natural things that we can do to help us. Okay? So with endometriosis, it's like a retrograde menstruation. The menstrual blood flows backward through the fallopian tubes and into the pelvic cavity. Now, like a lot of these conditions, genetic predisposition, it definitely runs in families, okay? You may have immune dysfunction, so the immune system may fail to recognize and destroy endometrial-like tissue. You may also have hormonal imbalances. We talk about that a lot. So the estrogen dominance can stimulate the growth of the ectopic endometrial tissue. And the other thing is lymphatic or the blood spread cells may actually travel through the blood or the lymph system. Okay? So those are some of the things that we know of when it comes down to this particular condition. So some of the painful things that you kind of go through with endometriosis, painful periods. So we talked about that a few episodes ago, dysmenorrhea, which is painful periods. So you may have pain during your intimacies. You may have pain with bowel movements or urination, especially during your menstruation. And you're going to have excessive bleeding, heavy periods, bleeding even between periods. And you may also experience infertility. You'll have fatigue, you'll have bloating, you'll have nausea, especially during your period. So that's not something that we want to look forward to because it is extremely painful having this condition. But there are times that you must see a healthcare professional, which will be a doctor. And when you start to have severe or chronic pelvic pain, okay, if your period pain actually disrupts your life, when you're having a lot of pain during your intimacies, your bowel movements or your urination, if you have trouble conceiving, and unusual bleeding or spotting. So again, these are symptoms that we have talked about with other things that for the last couple episodes we talked about. But it's always good to get tested to make sure that this is what's happening, because it, again, can lead to other things. So when you do go to your healthcare professional, they're going to do a pelvic exam, all right? So this will help them to see if there's any type of abnormalities going on. You may also have an ultrasound, which will be a transvaginal or abdominal ultrasound. And this is to look for cysts related to endometriosis. They may probably do an MRI, which helps to provide a detailed image of your pelvic organs. And then you may also have what they call the gold standard, which is a laparoscopy. And that basically is a surgical procedure where a camera is inserted through a small abdomen incision to view and possibly remove endometrial tissue, if need be. Okay? So those are some of the things that when you do go to a doctor, those are some things that he's going to want to do. Being a woman is not easy, right? I know. I can attest to it myself. It is a little rough sometimes. Okay. So with endometriosis, there are some supplements that you can take that could help you. For instance, your omega-3 fatty acids, which of course we talked about that. That is your fish oil. So this is anti-inflammatory. It actually helps to reduce the pain, and it slows the endometrial tissue growth. Now you want to do at least 1,000 to 2,000 of the EPA, DHA, which is the omega-3 fatty acids. The other thing is you want to do curcumin from turmeric. Now this is a powerful anti-inflammatory, and it's also an antioxidant, which actually helps to inhibit endometrial lesion growth. Now, if you were to take this, you want to do 500 to 1,000 per day with black pepper, which helps the absorption of the curcumin or the turmeric. Okay? All right. And then we also want to do N-acetylcysteine, which is NAC, and that supports liver detox, which especially for excess estrogen. We also talked before about the DIM, which helps also with excess estrogen, right? So it acts as a very powerful antioxidant, and it actually may reduce the cyst size that you may have. So again, the dosage on this would be 600 to 1,800 milligrams a day. Okay, you can split the dose. And the other thing you want to take a look at is magnesium. This helps to relax the uterine muscles. It helps to reduce cramping and support your mood and your sleep. So you want to do in dosage 300 to 400 milligrams a day. Okay? Vitamin D3, another very important vitamin. And that will support your immune modulation and inflammation. And it actually can control that inflammation, actually. So a lot of times we do or can be deficient in this. So it's very common to be deficient in D3 when you have endometriosis. So if you were to do this, a D3, you want to do 2,000 to 4,000 IU a day, okay, to make sure that's going to work for you. Zinc is another one. This is anti-inflammatory. Okay, and it's immune supportive and it aids with hormonal balance. So you want to do 15 to 30 milligrams a day, and you want to take that with food. Remember that. And DIM, we talked about DIM before. We just talked about DIM a few seconds ago. This promotes a healthy estrogen metabolism and clearance via the liver. Okay, so it helps to clear out the estrogen metabolized in the liver. So that's why DIM is very important and it's very helpful. So you want to do 100 to 200 milligrams a day. You often want to take this with calcium D-glucarate for added liver support. And speaking of calcium D-glucarate, this helps to support phase 2 liver detox, and it helps with estrogen clearance. So we're going to do 200 to 500 milligrams a day on that one. And then probiotics. This helps to improve your gut health and also your estrogen metabolism. Okay? So with this, you want to look for a broad spectrum probiotic with at least 10 to 20 billion CFUs a day. Remember that. And then we want to do a B complex vitamins, especially B6 and B12. This helps to support healthy methylation and hormone balance. It helps to ease your PMS and mood symptoms. Okay? So basically, you want to follow the instructions on this one to make sure that this, that you're taking exactly what it says on the bottle. Okay? Now, you know what I'm going to say next. When taking any type of supplement, that any of these that I just mentioned, you want to make sure that if you are already taking any kind of prescription or any type of medication that's prescribed by your healthcare provider, you want to make sure that you're able to take any of these, because remember what I always say, that you want to be careful in taking any kind of supplements with medication, because sometimes it either can decrease the effectiveness of your medicine or it can increase the effectiveness of your medicine. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that if you're under medication, that it's not going to affect what it needs to do or decrease what it needs to do. Okay? So you always want to check to make sure. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to take back our plate. And you know what that means? You know what that means. That means we're going to take back our health when we have endometriosis by taking a look at some of the things and foods that we need to concentrate on and some foods that we need to stay away from. Okay? And whatever we're talking about, I'm going to always have some type of correlating juice or smoothie to help with that. Okay. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about essential oils, because I do believe in essential oils. I'm also an aromatherapist along with a nutritionist. Some of the essential oils actually may help to reduce inflammation and the pain and also the emotional stress when it comes down to endometriosis, right? So always make sure you dilute with a carrier oil before applying topically. So lavender, one of my favorites, that's calming and helps to reduce pelvic pain and stress. Okay? Clary sage, that helps to balance estrogen and eases menstrual cramps. And then we have frankincense, which is anti-inflammatory and is also very grounding. We have peppermint, which is a muscle relaxant and is also a pain reliever. And then geranium. Geranium is a hormone balancing and is soothing to the uterus. You can actually massage these diluted oils onto your lower abdomen. You can add to a warm bath with Epsom salt if you like. And you can also diffuse it during times of stress or discomfort. Because what happens is, because endometriosis, guys, is very painful, it sometimes can cause depression, a lot of stress because you're dealing with so much pain with it. So it's good if you can do or have like an essential oil to help you, to diffuse it, to help, calm your nerves or to help with some of the pain. So I like to give that option to you because that's important. Okay. All right. So again, I like to cover as much ground, as much territory for those who are not sure about endometriosis. Now you have an idea of what this is. So some of the things, and again, I'm not going to cover everything because, there's a lot of different things, but kind of giving you an idea. So when we're talking about endometriosis, some of the safe vegetables that we want to take a look at eating would be carrots, spinach, and zucchini, and bell pepper. We want to do, as far as fruits, we could do bananas, oranges, strawberries, or blueberries. And then we can do, when it comes down to grains, we can do oats and rice, quinoa, and even cornflakes. And dairy, we want to do lactose-free. We can do almond milk or coconut yogurt. For sweeteners, we can do maple syrup. But just to kind of give you an idea of some vegetables and fruits that we need to avoid for starters: onion, garlic, cauliflower, and asparagus. Apples, pear, watermelon, and mango. I know you're probably saying, why? No, but yeah. Dairy, milk, soft cheeses, and creams. And we want to stay away from high fructose corn syrup, sorbitol, and honey. It's not good for endometriosis. Okay. And I know you want to, enjoy your little high fructose corn syrup, especially when it's in certain drinks and things of that nature. But, again, we're going to take back our plate. So we want to make sure and concentrate on an anti-inflammatory, hormone-balancing diet, right? So we want to definitely have supportive foods that I just mentioned, add to that, like kale and spinach. We want to definitely continue to help to detox our estrogen, right? So when we eat cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts, that helps with that. Again, berries, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant rich. We talked about the omega-3s, so chia seeds, flax seeds, and wild salmon, and turmeric and ginger, okay, which helps with inflammation in the body. We talked about, of course, the whole grains, the quinoa, and the brown rice, and then avocados and nuts, which are healthy fats. No surprises, once again, on the foods that we need to avoid. I know you guys are saying, she's always telling us this. And I like my good stuff. I like my cakes. I like my pies. But when we're dealing with conditions like endometriosis or situations where we're having PCOS, we really, really have to be careful what we eat, because these type of conditions are really effective based upon what we're putting on our plate. So we want to definitely stay away from the processed and fried foods. If we do red meat, we want it to be, organic. Dairy, which is big on causing inflammation, and it can be very sensitive with others. Caffeine and alcohol. Okay. We know about that because we talk about that every week. And sugar and refined carbs. This actually triggers inflammation and it is very hormonal disruptive. Very. And soy, because soy can actually mimic estrogen and it can worsen symptoms in the case with endometriosis. So we have to be very, very careful, guys. Very careful. Okay? Alrighty. So now we're going to get to that point where we're going to talk about a nice juice to have. And this is a juice that's going to be very helpful for women with endometriosis. Okay? So this juice is going to combine the ingredients that are going to be anti-inflammatory that you need, because that's a very inflammatory condition, endometriosis. So we need to do things that are anti-inflammatory. So what we want to do is 1 ripe pineapple, 6 celery stalks, a knob of ginger root that is peeled, a knob of turmeric root peeled, okay? And we're going to process all ingredients in the juicer. Now you can add a little drizzle of extra virgin olive oil to help with the absorption, especially of the curcumin from the turmeric. Okay? I bet you didn't know that. I bet you didn't know that one. And as you know, I always recommend that you're going to get the ingredients that I just mentioned, organic. And even though I'm saying organic, we still want to wash it off like we would normally do. And I have another one for you. Now this is going to be a smoothie. It's packed with the antioxidants and the fiber, which are important for managing endometriosis. So we're going to do 1 banana, a handful of blueberries or mixed berries, fresh or frozen, a handful of spinach, 1 tablespoon of chia seeds, 1 tablespoon of flax seeds, a half cup of juice. Now you could use a low sugar option like unsweetened tart cherry juice if you like, a half cup of water. You want to combine all the ingredients into your blender and blend until smooth and drink immediately. Okay? Now these, one is a juice and one is a smoothie, but they're both there to help women with endometriosis. Okay? They're endometriosis friendly. So it's going to help with that inflammation. It's going to help with all of those different things that we go through when we have it, and even the pain. Because when we can bring down the inflammation, it can also bring down the pain. Okay, guys, I hope that you're able to catch that information on endometriosis. Once again, we talked about what is it. We talked about supplements that you can take only if you get permission to do so. We also talked about the foods. As always, that's the whole purpose of taking back our plate, means taking back our health, and with proper nutrition for whatever we're dealing with. We talked about if we have to go see a health professional, what that looks like. What are some of the testings that they're going to do? So this way that you can be informed and aware. We also talked about some of the essential oils that can help with this condition. It helps with the pain. It also helps with to de-stress you, right? Because like I said, when a woman's going through endometriosis, it's very painful. Very painful. And because of the pain, it causes depression and stress. So we need something to help to relax that. We need something that we can take, that we can diffuse, or we can rub on our stomachs to help with the pain, help with the stress and inflammation. And also hormones, because that can help with that as well. Okay, so we covered a lot of territory today, as we normally do. So, with that being said, guys, we have come to the end of our journey today for this week. But I'm hoping that you have enjoyed this particular topic about endometriosis. A lot of women do experience this. And for those of you who might have heard about it, wasn't sure what it was, now you have an idea on what you can do to help yourself with it. As you know, I always end my episodes with wellness is not just a journey, it is a lifestyle, because it is, guys, it is a lifestyle. To be able to constantly make sure that you're in the right way with your health is by taking back your plate and eating the right proper nutrition to help you to do so. And as always, You want to share this podcast, guys. All of this great information is helpful to you, but I'm quite sure some of your friends and family would love to hear this as well, because you just never know who you may have in your circle that has endometriosis or may think they have it and want to know more information about it. Be sure to go to my website at www.nutritionudesign.com. You can book a 30-minute free session with me so we can basically discuss our next steps. The other thing is, guys, remember, I am a functional nutritionist to get to the bottom of your health. So having me as your accountability partner, allowing you to be able to live your life stress-free, better nutrition by a customized program that I will design for you, taking all of the guesswork out so you don't have to do a thing. You don't have to do anything. You just have to show up and do the work. But I have you covered, right? So who would want something like that? I'm a woman and I get it, as you know. So those are some of the things I wanted to mention to you. Make sure you do like this podcast, guys, so this way you'll know when the next episode, because you never know. I might do 2 or 3 in 1 week, but you won't know it until you like it. So that way you can keep abreast of it. So with that being said, guys, I hope that you have a great rest of the week. If it is hot in your area, make sure you drink your fluids, of course, water. Stay healthy, stay wise. Take a rest when you need to, and enjoy your summer. Until next time, which will be next week, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you soon.